Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, happy Thursday. It is a good day to learn StarCraft. I'm getting increasingly better at pointing to this arbitrary green screen behind me in a manner that looks like I'm interacting with the graphics. Ooh, he's so good at his job! Today we're going to talk about Protoss versus Protoss a little more. On Tuesday we talked about the core strategy, the ideas of how the beginning, middle, late, and very late game flowed. We're going to talk about the openings today. And again, openings are not specific build orders of exactly what to make when, although we will look at some of those. We're going to look at a lot of concepts going on here. We're going to look at everything ranging from some 1-gate fast expands to 3-gate and 4-gate play, as well as Bisu's sort of interesting DT thing. And this will let us step through all of these stages of the game that we looked through on Tuesday, but just from the first half, sort of getting yourself set up on the right footing. After this, in the next episode that's also happening today, we're going to be looking at tactics in PvP. So I'm actually just going to start things off by, oops, don't have headphones in. You're going to get an echo. We're going to look at a super basic, super safe opening right now. And I actually, there's one point I want to make with all of these openings, as always. An important concept in StarCraft is that things tend to converge in the mid-game. We tend to hit the same mid-game almost no matter what our opening is, because there's standard solid units that we want to be getting around to making. These things I want you to see is the expansion, 4 gates churning dragoons out, and that robo facility making reavers, that juicy 3. So we want to solve our problems like dealing with 2-gate rushes, dealing with early dragoon pressure, dealing with dark Templar. We want to figure out how to have these answers in our openings. So this is the most basic safe one. 10-gate, 11 assimilator. This is how almost all openings in PvP begin, just because it's so important to get dragoons in this matchup. So one of the first things to note is right when the gateway is done, often players will just build a zealot. They'll just build a zealot right off the bat. There's a few reasons for this. The first one has nothing to do with anything in the immediate present tense. The reason that we're getting the zealot is that it doesn't cost any gas. If you think about, let's just zoom way far forward ahead. We're at like 8 minutes into the game. 8 minutes into the game. If I have all my gas spent, I might have something like 8 to 10 dragoons, a reaver or 2, an observer, and nothing else. But if I built 1 or 2 extra zealots early on, I have that same force, because that's restricted by gas, and then 2 zealots. Hey, very nice. Zealots are not great, as we looked at in the core strategy episodes on Tuesday. Or excuse me, the core strategy examples on Tuesday. Zealots are not these killer units in the early game by any measure. But given how much gas we need in PvP, building early zealots is, in a sense, free units. So in the immediate moment, we're getting a zealot out to deny scouting, to let us have some extra force early on, deal with 2-gate zealot. We'll look at that specifically in the tactics thing coming up. But in particular, it's kind of a way to sneak in some extra units. Our gateway is producing stuff right from its completion. Before this zealot comes out, you'll see a probe is already being sent out to scout with. Cybernetics core comes right up, following. And a second zealot gets built. Hey, what do you know? Look at this. This is super duper common with almost every opening in PvP. Getting 2 zealots. Bare minimum 1 zealot. I will just claim it's super risky to skip zealots altogether, because if you get zealot rushed, you just die. Or if you get manor pyloned, or someone sends a single zealot to you and you don't have one, you can just take infinitely huge damage. Not infinitely, that's way too hyperbolic. You can take a lot of damage, or even lose the game. So second zealot going out. And if you look, third pylon coming down, most of our minerals are being spent on probes, pylons, and production. PPPs. Probes continuing to scout. Often players will send this zealot out to scout and maybe deal damage. Often they'll leave it home. Either one is pretty okay. You just have to know the implications of each of them. One of the big benefits of sending a zealot in early on is even if they do have their own zealot out, we see in this particular example, blue build 2 zealots and therefore will be able to thwart this single zealot. But it will be able to deal a little bit of damage, maybe pick off a probe or two. Coming back though to what's happening in the main base. Dragoon and Dragoon range right away. In the core strategy video, we saw that Dragoons without range get annihilated by Dragoons with range. And so by getting Dragoon production started as quickly as we can, by getting range started as quickly as we can, we sort of negate that. And I want you to see something in all of these openings that we're going to connect to the tactics episode, which is right after this. Dragoons with range let you freely move around the map. Feels really good to be able to do that, just to be able to move out and to get vision. So we're just kind of setting ourselves up for success. Look at this next Dragoon coming up. In the mini-map, our Zealot, Green Zealot, is down there harassing, trying to pick off probes and stuff. Look at this Dragoon marching right out onto the map. No issue whatsoever. It knows that at the very least, we are tied at the completion of range. There's no way for you to get range first, so that Dragoon just marches right on out. You're seeing that the robotics facility was just started. You're seeing pylons getting built. After those first 3 pylons get built, these spotter pylons are super important for spotting shuttles later on in the game. We're setting ourselves up to be really successful in the mid stages of the game by these little moves right now. And here's the second gateway coming down. I'm going to do a big pause in a moment to talk about why this is so standard. It's going to take just a little bit more. Non-stop Dragoon production, there it is. Robotics facility finishes and an observatory gets slammed down right away. So this is the ultimate standard skeleton base opening. If you're curious of how to play PvP successfully, I recommend doing this like every game. It's very well rounded. We're going to see how you do follow-ups with it in a moment. But part of the reason that this is very well rounded is we're getting an observatory quickly. Almost as quickly as we can without interrupting our Dragoon and our range production. So we're protected against Dark Templar. And as we'll see, that observer can let us scout the enemy base and see stuff. We're also getting range very quickly. We don't die to any sort of weird Dragoon rush without range. We don't die to any sort of weird, he rushed for ranged and beat us, so then he out-microed us. We don't worry about any of that stuff. We're also getting 2 gateways, so we have a pretty good amount of Dragoons. As we're also going to see, we're going to get a robotics facility following this. We get reavers pretty quickly. We get a kind of well-rounded army. And we still have a little bit of cash left over to be able to take an expansion. All the subsequent pylons that are getting built are in a ring around the base. Nice spotter pylons. Robotics support bay gets started as well. Awesome. We're going to be able to make reavers. Here's one observer coming out. Dragoon production is not exactly continuous. It's like semi-continuous. You can see we're making 2 Dragoons out of this, but it's not like easy to afford. And that's the biggest phrase I want you to remember about early game PvP. It's hard to afford everything that you want to do. Dragoons are really expensive. Reavers are really expensive. They all consume a lot of supply, so you're building a ton of pylons, which is really expensive. Spotter pylons getting built. So one observer comes out. Reaver comes out. First thing observer does, marches forward to start to see, are there any DTs coming inward? Are there any attacks coming inward? And look at this. Right after we get 1 round of Dragoon production, if right now that observer that's heading out on the map, if it saw that there was a big attack coming, dude, we just build 2 more Dragoons. Since we don't actually see an attack coming, we don't build the gateways, or don't build Dragoons, and we expand. Look at this. We have 6 Dragoons with range, 1 Zealot, an Observer, a Reaver is en route. A Reaver before the shuttle. For the longest time in StarCraft 1's history, players pretty much would always build the shuttle, and when the shuttle was halfway done, Protoss would build a reaver. So that way we have the reaver and have the shuttle at the same time. Yeah! Over time, Protosses have realized how important it is to just get an expansion up. So they just skip the shuttle, get the reaver right away, and then they can expand sooner. They can't attack as quickly, but it's okay. They're just looking to defend and get an expansion sooner. So here's the observer going, oh my gosh, you took a really fast expansion. And right now is a big decision point. We're about 6 minutes into the game, right? We have 2 gateways, an observatory, we have reavers incoming. And now that our observer has seen what's going on, we can make some decisions. Let's talk about some possibilities other than what we're seeing, since I have a video recording for that. What if we saw a whole bunch more units coming and we didn't see an expansion? Actually, let me come back just a moment. The observer is coming in, and the first and most important question for us is, what's going on with the expansion? What if our opponent had just started an expansion? What could we conclude if he just started an expansion? Well, green just started an expansion. So if green sees that blue has just started an expansion, green goes, you probably have about the same stuff that I do. Maybe one more dragoon, maybe one less. Maybe your reaver's a little faster or a little slower. But there's just no way it's going to be that different because our expansions are about lined up. You can't have like 6 more dragoons and an expansion at the same time, because it's hard to afford things early game in PvP. What if we see no expansion at all? Uh-oh. Our opponent's still on 1 base. We have the faster expansion. Play defensively. Build more units. Look on the minimap for drops. Look on the minimap for more attacks coming. We see that our opponent got a way faster expansion. Oh. Oh. Okay, so we actually probably have more stuff than he does. So let's see how, in this third case, our hero responds. He sees this, and I love this response. As I've been watching a lot of PvP replays, I just increasingly think this is super clever. You just instantly get speed for the reaver. Look at this, 2 zealots coming out of these 2 gateways, so that way we can save all of the gas to be able to get shuttle speed. Because we're saying, if you expanded before we expanded, that means that we probably have reavers sooner than you do. So look at the shuttle coming right out. The first observer went into the main base, sees everything that's there, and then died. And if you just look at this screenshot right here, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. Like, for me as an inexperienced Protoss player, you know, I'm a Zerg player in Brood War. As an inexperienced Protoss player, I might look at this and go, oh my god, he has 3 gateways, and a robo, and the robo facility, and the observatory. He has way more than I do. He has more gates and all the same buildings. But remember, timing is the important thing. If we look at production, blue has not even constructed a reaver yet. Only just now can he begin building 1 reaver. There's the first reaver coming out. Green already has speed started, already has a reaver done, and already has a shuttle underway. Really, really great. This is what makes this such a good opening. You can be very versatile. And also, if you just look at the supply, it's virtually identical. Play calmly. Play very calmly when you are scouting your opponent. Don't convince yourself that he has way more than he does. Only if you've taken a shitload of damage should you actually start to get worried. One of the last few steps that I want to look at here in this very basic opening is that when you get the second observer, you just move out onto the map and try to sweep and spot your opponent's observer. You know, this is almost done. On the mini-map, the green dragoon successfully picked off the enemy observer. So here we go. You're noticing gateways are not producing. We're not making extra dragoons because stuff's hard to afford in the early game. And there, look at this. 2 gateways going down, pretty much rounding out our early game. One thing that I forgot to show was the timing of this assimilator. Generally right around the time when you are building that 4th gateway is around the time when you want this gas geyser. If you're going to be producing on 3 or 4 gateways, you get that assimilator. So no gas, build this, and then, boom, build that. We spent quite a lot of time talking about this particular opening. The very fast observer 2-gate into expand, because we're going to use this as a baseline to kind of understand the other builds, the other openings that we're going to see. Yep, see there's the Citadel of Adun kind of marking the transition out of the early game. See, look, we got the 3 big things. Reavers and shuttles, 4 gateways making dragoons, and the expansion. Let's take a look at this fast Reaver 1-gate expand that Bisu did. We took a look at this game in the core strategy video, but let's look at the particular build order. 10-gate, 11 gas, as we see pretty much in every opening. Zealots starting to get produced, right? Seems pretty typical. 3 probes in gas. We're not doing any weird, like, 2 in gas or 1 in gas. We're just getting the gas as fast as freaking possible. We see that the probe scout gets sent, you know, when the zealot's like halfway done or something like that. Zealots here blocking. Cybernetics core comes up. Just as in the last game, Bisu's going to get a second zealot. I've selected the Nexus to show that Bisu's now cutting probes. And this is significant because as we look at future openings, probe cutting's real common in Protoss openings because stuff's just expensive. So if you looked at the other opening that we were doing just now, you saw that Dragoon right away, range right away. Bisu's going to do some different moves. First off, Bisu didn't take his first zealot and go attack with it. I said a lot of times you attack with the first zealot, a lot of times you don't. It's sort of a stylistic choice. In this case, Bisu is keeping 1 zealot home to defend, but look at this zealot. This zealot is just chilling away from the ramp. Bisu's hiding this zealot. This is a good way to sort of throw your opponent off a little bit, is if you can protect and block with just 1 zealot, just leave the other zealot back. But instead of getting range, Bisu makes this very interesting choice. Bisu, who can't even get in a good scout, but does see that a Dragoon is already done, can make some conclusions right away. Let's just think about this real quick, right? Bisu went Zealot, Cybernetics Core, Zealot, Dragoon. Right when the Cybernetics Core finished, Bisu started Dragoon. So Bisu does not have a Dragoon, right? Bisu doesn't have a Dragoon. He went Zealot, Cyber Core, Zealot. Right when the Cybernetics Core finished, Bisu started Dragoon. Therefore, if Bisu sees that his enemy has a finished Dragoon, what can Bisu conclude? Oh, my opponent didn't go Zealot, Cybernetics Core, Zealot, Dragoon. My opponent must have gone Cybernetics Core immediately, built 1 Zealot, and then built a Dragoon. Or built the Cybernetics Core immediately, skipped the Zealot, and got the Dragoon. Either way, you can conclude definitively that the opponent cannot have 2 Zealots. One of the really core concepts in any RTS game is that the biggest thing you're trying to do when you're playing is not find out the one thing that your opponent is doing. You're trying to cross off possibilities of what he can't be doing. Oh, he can't have 2 Zealots. Good. I know that for certain. All right, just crossing that possibility off. Anyways, so Bisu, boom, gets the robotics facility. For as much as that was fun to talk about scouting, you don't really change the build. Bisu's still just making probes nonstop. He's making Dragoons nonstop. After he starts that second Dragoon, after he started the Robo facility, now he's getting range. Comparatively, this range is far, far later than the previous opening that we saw. So this means Bisu can't really move out on the map because he might wind up in a situation where he doesn't have range and his opponent does. So we see Bisu being very conservative with the placement that he has of all of his Dragoons. Just look at the mini-map. They're all right here. Bisu's not doing things like moving his Dragoons out on the map. Nope. Just can't afford to do that. Robo Facility just finished. Let's look at what Bisu does in this opening. Observatory, right away. That is about the fastest observatory you can get in this matchup. More spotter pylons out on the side. And then a robotics support bay almost immediately. The production panel covers it up in a very derpy way. So, here's an interesting thing. After non-stop dragoon production, Bisu makes a zealot. It's because Bisu's so starved for gas. Like, super duper, very starved for gas. So in a moment, Bisu will be building a reaver. There's Mr. Reaver coming down. Awesome. Super great reaver. And that gateway's done producing. Not until we get this expansion up. So this is a nice defensive collection of units. Zealots are not great. Enemy dragoons can kite them a lot, but in very small fights, they absorb a lot of damage, and 3 zealots is a really nice way to protect 1 reaver. Zealots do deal a lot of damage if they can get close, so the reaver and the zealots kind of have a nice way of protecting each other. And awesome. Let's see some similarities here. Compared to the last opening, Bisu's getting everything a little faster, but he doesn't have a second gateway. He's getting his Nexus faster. The Reaver's coming up faster. The Observer's coming up faster, but he just doesn't have that second gateway. So, oh, and Bisu doesn't have quick range. So Bisu can't really put on any pressure almost at all. With 2 gate openings, sometimes you do have opportunities to put on pressure. But look at this. Very similar to the last game, Bisu goes for a very quick shuttle speed upgrade. So that way he can do harassment. Look at what the Observer's doing on the minimap. That Observer is moving out to see, hey, what's going on at the expansion? Now the Dragoon range is done. Look right here. These Dragoons, and you can see the little red splurch on the minimap. The red Dragoons, because they have range, now have the comfort and freedom to move out onto the minimap. First thing Observer does, moves at an angle such that it can see what's going on with the expansion. Expansion's done. Bisu's expansion isn't done. What can we conclude? Man, if our opponent has a Nexus done, and I went for a very fast expansion, he must have done 1 gate expand. He couldn't have done 1 gate robo, then expand. That's what we did, and his is up faster. He had to have gone 1 gate expand. You see how these, you just do these conclusions by looking at what you have and going, oh, is it the same as mine? He must be doing the same as me. Is it slower than mine? He must build more gateways. Is it faster than mine? Oh, then probably he skipped something. And look at this. Shuttle coming up, shuttle speed being done. Oh, look at that. 2 more gateways getting added on. And we're sort of rounding out to about the same position that we were in before. Look how solid of a defensive force this is, man. Those Dragoons for green are going to have a hard time approaching that 1 Reaver. And so, I really like this opening a lot. I have really shitty Reaver control. This is kind of why I like the 2 gate openings. It's just a little safer. You have more units, and I'm very bad with my decision making with shuttles. I just die with it a lot. There's the assimilator going down. You know, now that we have 3 gates or so producing, cool. Just want to get that extra 1. And this is similar in many ways. Similar in many ways to the 2 gate opening. It's just a little faster, a little more defensively set up than the 2 gate expand. So this is the... Do I even want to do this one next? No, I think I'm going to do this one next. So I'm going to show you a different opening, but I want to ask a really important question. Why would I want to do something different than a 2-gate robo expand or a 1-gate robo expand? Those both seem pretty stable, pretty good. What's making me do this instead? This, by the way, we're going to see is a 3-gate Dragoon heavy opening with observers. The answer is, depends a lot on the map. On Fighting Spirit, you're very closed off. It's very hard to harass. It's very hard to break through the natural expansion because it's such a small choke. So defensive openings are favored there. On maps like this one on Gladiator is another example of a map. Maps that have inverted ramps where you're on low ground and you go up to high ground. You really don't want to get contained. So you might really carefully make sure that you can get enough dragoons to apply pressure and push back. Things like that. If there's an inverted ramp, it's sometimes super dangerous to do some sort of defensive opening because if you just have to retreat down your ramp just once, you've kind of lost the game. So we're gonna see that in this match, but we're also gonna see a kind of a weird opening if you've never played PvP before. It's paradoxically not going to impact our opening very much. This is perhaps one of the greatest examples of the difference between a build order and an opening. So here, Zhangbi, the brown Protoss, doesn't get a Zealot first. Zhangbi instead gets a Cybernetics Core first in order to just get quick Dragoons. What would we anticipate for Zhangbi to do next? Oh, Zhangbi's almost certainly going to build a Zealot right now, which is indeed what we're going to see. There's the Zealot going down. I will talk about this in much more detail in the next video of PvP tactics, but this is called a Manor Pylon. Yellow has moved up and built a pylon right here, locking this probe in. Yellow is going to push the advantage and build a second pylon right there, locking in 3 probes, including this 4th. So there's 4 probes locked in. This is annoying as hell. What I want to stress to you is that this is annoying, is beneficial to yellow, but brown is still going to open in roughly the same way. So, this is really annoying. This is really annoying. But brown is just going to defend things calmly. First things first, you know what? Brown built that Zealot. Really important to get that Zealot constructed. Why? Because it's one of the big key tools to killing off Manor Pylons. A Dragoon gets built. And lo and behold, what's going to happen after the Dragoon? Dragoon range, man. Dragoon with Dragoon range is a really core skeletal component to a lot of Protoss openings. Having range is just awesome. And even though there's this weird circumstance that came in, oh look, a 3rd Manor Pylon locking in the units again, and now there is this annoying Zealot that yellow has thrown in there that is starting to harass and pick off probes. Brown is having to choose to allocate his units between killing the pylon or killing the Zealot that's harassing. And that was pretty damn annoying, right? That was a pretty annoying, cheesy thing to deal with. It's a really nice tactic, Manor Pylons, but let's take a look at how Zhangbi just continues. Like, if you forget everything that just happened, this looks like a pretty normal Protoss base. Except for the, probes that were pulled off gas and stuff. But yeah, look at this. Dragoons just getting produced. Outside of the natural expansion, I'm just going to gesture to it on the minimap. Right here, there's a high ground. There's a little ramp up and a strip of high ground and a ramp down. So that's where Protoss players want to rally their units most of the time. So that's where you're going to see all the brown units kind of chill. Robo facilities produced first. Dragoons produced continuously. Probes produced continuously. Pylons produced continuously. And then 3 gateways are added on. So I just want to talk qualitatively about what's happening right now, just at a very basic level, and then we'll look at some details in a moment. Why would Zhangbi want to get a robo so fast and then 2 gates? Very simple logic. 1, we want the robo fast for observers because DTs are a huge threat. Observers always have these auxiliary benefits, like you can spot and position better and you can scout. But the real hard wall, the real big, sharp reason why we just get the observatory fast is if we don't, we just immediately lose to DTs. Woo! Why the extra gateways? On some maps, as I was saying earlier, it's so easy to just die at your expansion. You don't have a lot of good defensive positioning. There's a lot of high ground that if your opponent gets control of, you can just immediately lose. So on these types of maps, dragoons in large numbers early on are the way that you can get safety and security. It causes you to delay your expansion by quite a bit. So this is the most tempered way to get a good chunk of dragoons. 3 gates and a robo. But let's look at the impact that this has on the economy. Look at the probe production is halted. That's not producing. That's not producing. It's not producing. It's still not producing. A pylon goes down. Still not producing. The robo's done. Insta-snap observatory. Okay, like 1 probe is snuck in there. Look at that. The Nexus is not producing. It's not producing. It's not producing. Okay, so these 2 gateways are done. 2 sets of production. And look at this. It's hard to afford a 3rd dragoon. In a weird way, if you go 3 gate, you're really going like 2.5 gate and kind of cutting probe production. Not all the way cutting probe production, just a little bit. Right, look at that. The Nexus is not producing. It's not producing. It's not producing. There's an observer coming out. It's not producing. It's not producing. It's not producing. Pylon being built. Same logic as before. Spotter pylons later for drop. But look at that. Not... Oh, there's one. There's one that's getting snuck in. And... Okay, it's not producing. We see the Nexus is not producing. The Nexus is not producing. There's the observer coming out. That's nice. Here's this little ramp up. Strip of high ground. Ramp down. Here's all the dragoons here. Coming out in very large numbers, thanks to the 3 gates. Now with the observers. Okay. Perfect. So you can just see in the production 3 more dragoons and an observer getting produced. I want to come back to this critical moment right when the observer comes out. Okay. This is a key moment that is like the most important thing to not do if you're doing this sort of opening. There is no robo facility going down right away. Robotics facilities cost 200 minerals, 200 gas. 80 gas in the bank for Zhongbi. This gateway is not producing. When it does make a dragoon, it is going to be making 50 gas at a time. And so if you just stare up at the money and the production, look, 2 more dragoons getting produced. When this gas hits 50, boom, another dragoon is produced. If you're going for 3 gateways worth of dragoons, you just don't quite have the gas to get dragoons and observers and reavers. So players pretty much cut the reavers. Once we have 2 observers out, and if we, don't build a dragoon here or there, then we can stockpile enough to begin building reavers. So this is a lot of the in-base stuff, and it's weird to say, but with this build order, attacking is part of the build. Moving out across the map like this is part of the opening. Why? Because you almost certainly have more dragoons. PvP openings are about relativity, but not in the Einsteinian sense, right? It's about, all right, I went 3 gate, so I'm building a lot of dragoons. If I attack, and you have the same amount of dragoons, I know that you are also going 3 gate dragoons, so you can't have reaver, you can't have expansion. If you have less dragoons, hey, maybe I just win, but also you probably have reavers or you have an expansion. What if I move out and he has more dragoons? Oh, this dude went 4 gate. I got to retreat. So moving out. Oh, I see an observatory. Okay, so this got, or an observer. So I picked that off. That's really good. Look at this. Dragoon, dragoon, dragoon. No more observers being produced. And the Nexus not producing probes. Continued spotting pylons getting produced. Sneaking in probes every now and again. So, Zhongbi picks that off, sees a pretty similar amount of dragoons. If you're Zhongbi, you're kind of going, maybe he's doing the same thing as me, maybe he's doing the same thing. What did the observer do? The observer scouted the expansion and went, he doesn't have an expansion. So he's probably doing something similar to me. 2, 3 gates maybe. More specifically, he's either going 3 gate dragoon, same as me, or he's going 2 gate dragoon with fast reavers. Very easy to conclude, right? Because it's all about relativity. It's all about, oh yeah, I've been producing dragoons nonstop. Oh hey, there's 2 gates and a robo. Looks like it's 2 gate dragoon with reavers. Indeed. it is, and if you watched my analysis of this series, this is a very important fight. See, once time passes, you can begin to stockpile some gas, and this is where the very late reavers come up. Sending 5-6 forward to pick off this reaver and this shuttle. And thanks to having 3 dragoons worth of production, Zhongbi has slightly more dragoons and can push back. And there's something that we talked about at the very outset of this entire build, or this entire opening, which is that on some maps, there's terrain that means you really can only defend with dragoons. That's what those high low ground things were. And now, Zhongbi has done the successful move of containing his opponent. At which point, Zhongbi expands behind it with a reaver coming. Notice how we've sort of wiggled our way back to this standard look. 3 or 4 gateways churning out dragoons, reavers pumping out of a robotics facility with shuttles, and then expansion. Beautiful. This is an opening that I would say is selective based upon the map. Here is this kind of a similar-ish opening, but this one hurts a little bit more to watch. It's going to be the same gateway. It's going to be the assimilator. I'm zooming forward a little bit. It's a cybernetics core zealot, you know, normal stuff. But on this map, it's an inverted ramp, right? Real danger. We're starting to get concerned, if we're many, that we might get bombed in with a bunch of dragoons and just die. See, look at this. Here's the high ground area. There's the inverted ramp. Getting contained on this map is an insta-loss. You literally cannot afford to get contained. So the fast dragoon range, non-stop dragoon production makes total sense. Here's something you might say intuitively. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get 3 gateways real fast, so I can produce dragoons in enough numbers to hold the high ground. This is actually completely legitimately good logic, and this is an appropriate way to open. But let's look at some consequences. No production on probes. Robotics facility coming out. Gotta get real fast observers, but if you're trying to do all these things, you can kind of wreck yourself. All right, look, we have 3 gateways done. We can't even really produce out of them. The Nexus is not producing. We've like started the game off cutting workers. Kind of makes sense. This is one of the most fragile maps. This is Gladiator. Gladiator 1.1. All maps with inverted ramps, just super duper suckaroni. So here, it's like kind of 2 and a little more. And at this point, Mini decides... This is actually a really cute play. This is a very technical opening. But if you get a lot of dragoons early on, like you make 3 gateways, you get 1 round of dragoons, right? Here was Zealot from Gateway 1, Dragoon from Gateway 1, Dragoon from Gateway 1, and then 1 Dragoon from Gateways 1, 2, and 3. Right, you get 1 cycle of dragoons out. You just go attack and get information. If you attack and you encounter a DT or something like that, you just cancel the support bay for getting the reavers, and you just get observers. If you see a lot of dragoons, you know your opponent went for 3 or 4 gates. But the more important thing I want to highlight in this opening, I really do not recommend this opening unless you know exactly what the hell you're doing. Notice that Mini, by the way, Mini gets here and sees more dragoons than him. So he knows, oh shit, this is like 3 or 4 gates. Yeah, especially when that guy rolls up, it's like, eee. So Mini, yeah, he's getting the Reaver, but is only producing out of like 2 gates, not making probes very much. Maybe making 1 here, 1 there. You can't do everything. Stuff is so expensive in PvP, a lot because of pylons. The cost of pylons, you got to get the shuttles, you have to make scarabs. I mean, minerals and gas are just going out the door in the opening game. And what's a little clever about this is that with all that cutting that Mini did, he is able to withstand 4-gate pressure. This is 4 gateways of pressure that Zhangbi just threw out. And so, on very specific maps where players 4-gate a lot, this is an interesting way that you can answer this, where you go 3-gate, build, attack, look, pull back, you get a reaver. You know, I frankly think it's just not so good. The sort of flip side of that is the 4-gate that we just saw, which is, this is hilarious. How long is this video? It's 3 minutes long. Yeah. I'm just going to zoom ahead. So, again, quick Zealot, quick Dragoon with Dragoon range. Now watch this. 27 of 33. See that supply up there? Or excuse me, 29 of 33. No probes shall be made henceforth. 1, 2, 3, 4 gateways. Zhangbi just literally does not have the money to do it. You cannot both build Dragoons and build pylons at the same time. I mean, you can, you just don't have the money to be able to. You're allowed to build probes and pylons at the same time in most typical games of StarCraft. But again, this is not like 4-gate production. This is like 3.5-gate production. See, it's like, I really want to make that. Okay, there, that's coming out. With this opening, aggression is part of the opening. See, this is made out of Gateway 1, Gateway 1, Gateway 1, Gateway 1, Gateway 1. But then all of a sudden, you have Gateways 1, 2, and 3 all produce a cycle of Dragoons. And you just go freaking attack. Because if you get into a fight, and you lose some stuff, and I lose some stuff, then hey, I don't gotta make pylons anymore. Woo! No pylons for me, baby! And that allows you to begin producing continuously off the 4 gateways. Losing Dragoons in these fights is part of the opening. And sometimes you just outright kill your opponent. See right here? Oh, Zhangbi's really eager to push forward with 4 gates, because if I go 4 gates and I win this attack, then I've contained you on an inverted ramp and I'm the best player in the world. Woo! So, yeah, see, look at these 4 gateways producing beautifully. Really slick little opening from Mini. But what's kind of funny is that if I go back home, I think I actually just chill in the main base and speed it up. Do I? Alright, I think I just speed it up. Yeah, I'm on times 16 speed, times 8 speed. Look, he's just building Dragoons out of here, man. Look at Zhangbi's money. Anytime it gets high, he just builds a bunch of Dragoons and it plummets back down again. He's just making Dragoons. He's not making probes. Not making pylons anymore. He's just making Dragoons. He's not expanding. He's not building a robo. Can you appreciate why 4-gate is not as popular? Can you appreciate why 3-gate Dragoon with Reaver is not as popular? You just don't have the money to do like anything else. You hardly have enough money to do what you're trying to do, which is to build out of your gateways. So this is why I really recommend like this basic 2-gate expand, because like this shape is really nice. The fast observatory, the fast 2 gateways, the fast reavers, a reasonably fast expansion. This is just nice. There's one opening that I have to get out of here. That's the wrong thing. There's one opening that is very unique. I'm fascinated by this opening. It has some significant deficiencies, but this is the DT Expand with High Templar opening. That I would say you just kind of need to know about it. I do not recommend doing it. I mean, you can try, but I'll explain the pain as it's happening. 10 gate, 11 gas, cybernetics core immediately. Looks like a normal opening. We're getting a zealot. We're getting another pylon. Looks normal, right? Normal as can be. But when that spinny man is done, the cybernetics core is done. Snap Citadel, bam. We want dork Templars as fast as possible. Dragoon gets produced, but for the most part, continuous probe production, continuous pylon production. Just that one little skip. Spotter pylons getting built, no prob. Citadel of Adoon's done. Boom. Templar Archives. Do we make Dragoon range? No. Do we make Dragoon number 2? Yes. Yes. DTs are coming fast, man. So let's look at how precisely Bisu does this. He's going to get 2 Dark Templar. First Dark Templar gets produced, and then expansion follows thereafter. The first Dark Templar is designed to attack and maybe just win the game. The second Dark Templar is defensive. Defensive for a few reasons. One, if he tries to do some weird counterattack because he doesn't have detection, our second DT lets us hold off that counterattack. If our opponent is also doing a DT rush, we can place our second DT on hold position at our ramp, and then his DT can't get up. On some ramps. On maps that have... If there's ramps that are a little wider, they can just, you know, the enemy DT just waltzes right up. So, here comes your DT. See, look at this. This player, look at this, Mind went for the 2-gate. Fast Observer is great. Or not Mind, Han. I know his name is Mind, but Mind is a famous Terran player, and this Mind, split it with a period, Mind. That's by Han. That's Han. His name's Han. His real ID is Han. Mind is a Terran player, and that's not Mind, even though it says Mind. Do you understand me? I know you do, but this is heresy in my mind. You just never, ever take someone else's ID. That's bad manner, man. This is where Day9 himself subscribes. So, a common way to deal with this ultra-fast DT is you just block the ramp. So you just try to accumulate whatever value you can. This is some pretty exceptional blocking. 1 or 2 probes will fall. You know, standard stuff. But I want to talk about the opening that's happening back here. We, the Brown Protoss, have to worry about a few things right now. We have to worry about Dark Templars killing us. We have to worry about dying to an attack. The follow-up here took a long time for players to figure out how to stabilize. You go for Fast Templar with Psionic Storm and Photon Cannons. That's what this Forge is here for. The Forge is actually building cannons at the front. Cannons serve this double purpose of being able to deflect any weird Dark Templarage that you're doing. And also help deal with whatever weird Dragoon play that you could do. This is a tense period as the Brown Protoss. This is a stupidly quick expansion that's great. I love it. We don't have Dragoon range. And in the core strategy video, we learned that Dragoons without range lose real badly to Dragoons with range. That's what the cannons are there for. The cannons outrange even Dragoons with range. So that's a significant benefit to building those cannons early on. But we still don't have range. Most of the early production is getting out these 2 High Templar, getting out an early Assimilator, and then just building Dragoons and trying to catch back up. Just building the pylons, the probes, and the Dragoons consumes most of your cash. Later on down the line. Oh yeah, cannons are peppering in as well. Third gateway coming down. Still no Dragoon range. Still no Dragoon range. Dragoons with range, look out. Skipping ahead a little bit. There we go. Now Brown is getting Dragoons with range. Has a nice little path here. This is cute. See this little walkway? Units can go in and out of that real nicely. Han does a really... Oh yeah. Once we have... See, there's the Observer scouting everything we have. Let's not forget, what's kind of the look we're going for in the mid-game? What are we missing? We have the expansion, we have the gateways making Dragoons. Oh, do we need a robotics facility? Technically, if you are this well established, you can skip Reavers. You can, but you can't skip Observers. And in fact, one of the big pain points that Bisu encounters here, I will skip ahead a little bit, is that Han quickly goes for Dark Templar drops and drops DTs in Bisu's main. Could Bisu have built a cannon there? earlier on, I mean, technically yes, but I want to watch this at ×4 speed. Just look at the minimap. After that, Dark Templar gets killed off. There's just... Brown has no vision. Brown can't see anything. And remember what I was talking about in all these other openings? It's so nice when you have Dragoon range and observers. You can extend out onto the map. Just move out there and see kind of what's going on. Look at the minimap. Brown can't see anything. Brown's in his own base. And there's the observer. So I'm gonna recommend strongly to you that just do some of those more traditional calm openings. To gateway, robo gateway, observer, expand with a reaver, or gateway, robo, expand. Great solid openings. And in the next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some tactics in the early, mid, late mid, and late game that you can incorporate into any one of your plays. But these are the openings, and I'm going to take a quick break because I need to use the restroom. And I'm an adult. I'm allowed to go to the bathroom. I'm allowed to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go ahead and put this up, and I'm going to set it for a quick 2-minute break, guys. Stay tuned.